So what I was saying is that we now have power, which is fantastic. And unfortunately then the internet company said that they wouldn't be able to get us back up and running until possibly Monday, but we've been lucky enough that they have now got the internet back up and running. The town itself is starting to recover. We have seen a lot of people jumping on and a lot of businesses offering freebies, to help with clearing broken trees or replacing ceiling tiles where water's coming through the ceiling. So it's been fantastic to see the community come together. Unfortunately, the local swimming pool, which was due to open for the summer season today, has ended up with glass in the pool, so they're going to have to drain that, and it looks like it's going to be a few weeks before they can get that cleaned up and going again, which is a little bit sad. But yeah, so that's the excitement that's been going on here this week. I can see there's a few of you joining. Just put a hi in the comments, or let me know how you went with the homework task, because I can only see numbers unless you comment. So I can see that Plugger's here because he's let me know that my mic wasn't working. But yeah, okay. So I reckon we'll get started. If you are catching this on the replay, you can certainly comment and provide any questions and things in the comments, because I will be keeping an eye on this for today. The other thing is that I will be archiving this group at the end of this week, so you do have a few more days still to provide homework or add any questions and comments and things. But at the end of this week it'll be archived, so you'll still be able to see it. You'll be able to refer back to all of the information in there, but you won't be able to add any comments and things. Okay, so let's get started with day 5. So first of all, I want to say that I know that I have provided a whole heap of information to you over these 5 days, but it is such a small amount of all of the information that's available and that I can tell you about and teach you and that you can then use to work on those interactions that you're having with people to make sure that you're viewing all of those hidden messages. As I said, unfortunately in 5 days there is only so much. I didn't want to overwhelm you completely and have you walking away going, whoa, this is all too hard. So I hope that this has gone at a pace that you've been able to actually implement the techniques and things that we've been working on throughout. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, there will be an opportunity at the end of this live that I will be offering for a brand new course that will be starting on the 8th of November, but we'll talk more about that at the end of today's session. If any of you are catching one of these lives for the first time, I just thought I'd quickly run through the fact that my name is Pippa. I'm a criminologist and an investigator and a body language analyst. So I have a master's in criminology, mainly because you can't get a degree in investigations here in Australia. You can do lower level courses, but to actually get to the master's level, there's nothing for investigation. So criminology was the next best thing for me, and I have learned a huge amount through growing through that education process. I've also worked as an investigator for a number of different Australian government agencies. So I've worked for a fraud section who were looking at people who were telling social services or Centrelink that they were doing the wrong thing. Well, they weren't telling them they were doing the wrong thing, we were finding out that they were doing the wrong thing. I then worked in a money laundering and tax evasion investigation unit, which was very interesting. Looking at mega millionaires and doing search warrants on those sort of homes was very different, and a lot of computer forensics was involved with that role as well. I then went to the Northern Territory, which was absolutely incredible, and I worked there doing basically vice squads, so liquor, gambling, tobacco, prostitutes, real estate agents, just a whole range of those sorts of investigations. And I will add, prostitution is legal in the Northern Territory, so it was just making sure that they were complying with the rules and regulations, because it's very tightly regulated. So that was, travelling around the Northern Territory, out in the Indigenous communities, as well as in Darwin, the main capital itself. So lots and lots of varied investigations, which means that I met a lot of varied people. And what I found throughout it all is this body language stuff works no matter who you're dealing with. So it's been fantastic to be able to take that educational knowledge and then apply it in a practical sense. And some of you might have heard in yesterday's live, I talked about something that I'd done for me personally to be able to increase my feeling of authority when doing an investigation. So that's the little bit of background about me and where my knowledge comes from. What I'm moving into now is to try to teach other people about this, because so often I would either hear from other people, oh wow, that's so interesting, I'd love to be able to do that. But also I would see interactions where I was going, why are they responding in that way? Why aren't they picking up the behaviours that person is showing that suggests that maybe what they're discussing right now is making them uncomfortable, or maybe they're telling lies, and we're starting to see some deception cues coming through. Why aren't people picking this up? And what I realised is we just don't get taught this stuff. In schools and things, they focus on making friends and that sort of thing, but then after that we don't take this to the next level. We're just expected to work it out, and it's not something that you can just work out. It's something that you actually need to, there's a lot of intuition involved. I do totally understand that, but as I said the other day, the intuition sometimes comes from the fact that we are reading the body language and not actually even realising it, especially if we're not in tune with it. But we do need to actually start to work through these processes, learn the techniques, and then apply them in a practical sense in our day-to-day lives. So yeah, that's why we've done this challenge this week, and I hope that you've got those sort of benefits from learning these techniques. Okay, so when we started on Monday, we started with establishing baseline. So establishing baseline was about the fact that we need to understand people's normal behaviours before we make decisions about their cues. So those of you who follow me on TikTok or are in the Body Language Analysis Facebook group, and if you're not, you can go and join it after this live, because that's an ongoing group that we have where we discuss all things body language. But on the TikTok, now I sound old, on TikTok and in the Facebook group, I've shared a video where I've done an analysis of the parents of Cleo, a little girl who's missing in Western Australia, or from Western Australia. I think she could be anywhere now. And I've done an analysis on the appearances that they've done on TV. Now, those appearances and that ability to actually read what it is that they're giving across comes from initially establishing baseline. Now, I don't know these parents. It's not like I know what their normal behaviours are, and as the video says, I've taken into consideration the fact that they are appearing on camera, which is very uncomfortable for most people, and that the videos themselves are cut and edited. So what I'm seeing isn't how it happened in the moment. Not totally anyway. But yeah, so I was able to establish their baseline to then be able to say, whether I believe that they are telling the truth in the fact that they weren't involved with Cleo's disappearance or not. So yeah, certainly go and have a look at that video if you're interested, but that's a really great example of establishing baseline for somebody that you don't know. On Tuesday, I'm talking, sorry, I should talk day 1 and day 2 because it wasn't Tuesday for me, it was Wednesday, but that's going to confuse things. So day 2, day 2 we were paying attention. So this was about bringing it into a normal habit to actually look around and see what's happening and focus on the people that you're interacting with to actually pick up those cues that they're sending you. And I know there was a couple of you who had a few aha moments around some of that paying attention stuff. And as I said, I still pick myself up for doing it. You know, I have the exciting story to tell. Stop talking, let me talk. But once you start to learn to pick up those cues, then you can certainly quiet your brain a little and go back to focusing. Okay, day 3, we did open and closed body language. So this is a really simple way to get a really broad level read on somebody as soon as you're approaching them, basically, or you see their change happen while you're in that conversation. So the closed body language is making yourself as small as possible. It's curling yourself into the ball, head down, chin in, arms often crossed. If you're sitting down, you might find that they're even tucking their feet in under their chair, just anything to make themselves really small and also protect their body from the outside world and whatever it is that's scaring them or making them feel uncomfortable at the time. On the other hand, we have the open body language, which is taking up space. So it's standing tall, it's lifting the chin, shoulders back, arms often away from the body, especially if seated, and just opening up to the world. And this open and closed can give us then an indication as to how we interact with that person. As we mentioned, we go gentle and be cautious when we're interacting with somebody who's showing closed body language, whereas somebody who's showing open body language, we can be more over the top, we can be more excited, we can be more positive to reflect that body language that they're showing. Okay, let me just have a quick drink. I've already finished this morning's coffee. Yesterday we talked about legs and feet. I just skipped arms and hands. Let's talk about arms and hands first. Day 4, arms and hands. So in that one, we talked about the fact that this is one area where culture does come into play. So a lot of the gestures that we make with our hands are learned behaviours rather than the primitive behaviours which most body language comes from. We talked about the fact that the arms and crossing the arms and how comfortable or uncomfortable that can feel in certain situations. Did anybody give it a try and see which way they cross their arms and then try crossing them the other way to see whether it felt uncomfortable? If not, do it now. Try crossing your arms just like normal and then try swapping them so they're the other way around. And yes, the idea is that it feels very strange for most people to cross your arms the other way. There's no meaning behind it as far as we know so far. And we talked about the different gestures, a lot of the steepling and the folded hands and the different meanings that those had, as well as then the hidden hands and the different places that we can hide our hands and what they mean. So much information already. Day 5 training. Let's not have days. Let's have day 5 training was legs and feet. Judith, definitely different. Also, I tried when happy and that feels just weird. Yes. People say that folding their arms, they just do it because it feels comfortable. But it is actually portraying a negative emotion. And if you try folding your arms when you're happy, it will actually just feel really uncomfortable. So I'm really glad you tried that. And everybody else, give it a go next time you're feeling really joyful. Legs and feet. So these are the most honest areas of the body. So let's explain why they're honest first, and then we'll talk about why that actually happens. So when we think about being honest, we often control our facial expressions when we're trying to give information to the other person. If I'm wanting to appear confident, then I'm going to be thinking about what I'm doing with my face, because we're used to controlling our facial expressions as much as possible. Now, obviously, there's leakage and those sort of things that can happen when we're talking about deception. I'm not going to go too far into that today. But we also tend to control our hand movements a reasonable amount because they're right here in front of us. We can see them, we think about them. We don't think about our feet and our legs, mostly because most people don't know that there is meaning behind your feet and your legs. Also because we can't see them, we don't tend to notice them as much. And then thirdly, and I'm not sure I agree with this one, but this is a third one that some body language analysts raise, and that's because there is such a distance between the brain and the feet. Now, I know how quickly synapses and things work, how quickly the nerves pass this information around the body, so I'm not sure that, me being 5'6" is going to help all that much, but it is something that people do suggest could be a reason why we don't think about our feet. If we're not thinking about our legs and feet, then they're doing whatever it is our brain is feeling. And so that information will help, for us, when we're trying to work out how somebody is feeling, or if something is triggering them, we can then look at their legs and feet. So there's a lot of honesty there. So if we start off with legs. Now, before I do that, please put in any comments or questions that you have about this. I know that both the arms and hands and the legs and feet, I threw a lot of information out there. So if you have any questions about any of the things that I covered, or anything that you've seen when you've been looking at these, then let me know and I'm happy to answer them. So straddle stance, this is the one that we want to see. This is, especially in ourselves, but if we're interacting with somebody, it shows that they're feeling good about themselves. So it's kind of like in the military they have at ease, so often they'll put their legs wide apart. They do tend to put their hands behind their back, and that's a good idea if you're wanting to hide the fact that you tend to fiddle with your fingers and things. You can hold your hands behind your back. Just be careful about how you hold your hands behind your back, because that has meaning as well, of course. There's a whole lot of extra information that I can't go into because I don't have time. So that at ease stance is the straddle stance. You've got your feet positioned apart. You're feeling it's a comfortable way to stand, and also you're quite stable in your positioning. The next one is the straddle stance, and that's where you are just standing straight as well, but you have your feet together. So you're not quite as stable as you would be in the straddle stance, but it's heading towards the more closed body position. You are closing your space in a bit. However, it is not as triggering maybe as some of the other stances that I'm just about to talk about. But yeah, so we're going from this wide open positioning to the more narrow closed position. So yes, parallel stance, not too bad, but not great. Buttress stance. Now this one, we may tend to do this either if we have a disability and there's something wrong with our legs or our hips and those sort of things. This is quite a common way to stand. Or if we've been standing for a long time and our legs are starting to get tired. So remember, with all of these, you're establishing your baseline first. Don't just presume because you've seen a certain stance that is a sign in relation to how that person is feeling. But add them all together, and if you're getting multiple suggestions that somebody's not feeling great, then there you go. That's how all of this works. So the buttress stance is where we're standing with one leg straight, and then the other leg is more of a support. So it can be kicked out to the side, it can be bent a little bit, but we're not putting much weight on that support leg. Now, this can be a sign that we actually want to leave the situation, that we're ready to move. And often the way that the support leg is pointing is the way that we're actually thinking of heading. So if there is a door in that direction, it's a good sign we want to actually leave the room. So that's a good one to pay attention to. And the scissor stance. And this one, this was the picture that I put up yesterday, or earlier today for those in the US. And she has her legs tangled up together. And it looks really uncomfortable. Now, this is a very staged photograph, I do appreciate that, but it's the leg positioning that I'm trying to get across. I'd love for somebody who's good at body language to go and do a whole bunch of stock photos and make my life easier. So this tangled leg position, they're totally off balance when they do that. And it's a real suggestion that they're feeling awkward and uncomfortable. They're really trying to close that body position down so that they're, like we say, with closed body language, that they're not feeling great. They're trying to take up less space. And even just that feeling of touch, of the legs touching each other in that way. It's almost like a little leg hug. So it makes them feel better. So yeah, scissor stance. It's not a good position to be in, and if you find yourself in that position, you may find that moving from that to the straddle stance actually makes you feel more confident overall. Did anybody get a chance to have a look at Amy Cuddy's video, the one about the power posing? That's the same sort of idea. So yeah, if you find your legs all tangled up and you move into her power pose, then you will find that you'll start to feel a little better. Okay, I'm going to have a quick drink. I'm not sure, I think I'm getting a bit unwell. I feel a bit congested today. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, so let's move on to feet. Remember, if you're catching this on the replay, you are more than welcome to provide some comments or questions. I know that some of you are sleeping while I'm doing this at the moment, so that's fine. But totally just add those comments and questions in. Angle of the feet. Now, when we talk about feet, most people, this is a pretty common knowledge information, but we don't tend to look for it. So you might be aware that the way the feet are pointing is the way the person wants to go. But if you don't think to look for it, then it's just a cue that's out there that's you're not picking up and utilising in your little arsenal of tools that you have. So if you're talking to somebody and they're pointing their feet towards you, then it's likely they're actually enjoying the engagement of this conversation, and they're not heading anywhere anytime soon. If you start to see their feet move away, either towards the door or if you're outside, just away from you, then it's a suggestion that they're actually wanting to wind this up. Now, it could be that they just want to wind up the topic of conversation at the moment. Maybe they have something to tell you, and so they're waiting for you to finish, and they're starting to signal that you're taking your time, come on. Or it can be that they actually want to leave the situation. I find myself doing this quite regularly when somebody is talking to me and I have somewhere to be, like I have an appointment to get to, and I'm running on the clock. And so I will notice that my feet start to turn away from the person. Now, I know that it's a little bit rude and I need to find a better way to do it, so I'll often try and turn my feet back towards them and find an actual way of saying, hey, look, I'm sorry, I've got to run. But it does happen, and it's something that you will often see in other people. And so, yeah, like I said, there's a couple of reasons that they could be doing it, and if you're aware that it's happening, then you can think about what it is that's causing that. Fidgeting feet. So I've added this one in here. However, again, you really need to establish baseline with this one. Some people have what's called restless leg syndrome, which means that they literally, it's harder for them to hold their legs still than it is for them to move it. So it actually feels better to let it just jiggle and shake and things. But also, people who are just naturally fidgety. My daughter has ADHD, so for her, I wouldn't be looking at whether she fidgets or not because she fidgets all the time. It's really hard for her to be still. So if you've established that baseline first and the person isn't, moving their legs and shaking their feet and those sort of things normally, but then that starts to happen, then it's a good sign that, something is happening for them and usually in a negative manner. And again, going right back to the very beginning, it doesn't have to be what you're interacting with them about that's causing this. They may have just remembered, I was meant to ring the doctors yesterday and I didn't do it, and now it's Saturday and they're closed, while you're having a conversation about something related to work. Like it can be anything that's causing it, but at least if you're aware that something is happening for them, you can interact with them at a better level. You can pivot the conversation and help out in any way possible, if there is a way to help. Knotted ankles. So this is a really, really good one, and we saw it in the photo of the interviewees. I think it was the woman in the middle had her ankles knotted, which just means basically crossed over, and she tucked them under the chair as well. So you can see this sign either sitting or standing. You will very often see it with sitting, but if they've crossed their ankles and tucked them under the chair while they're sitting, it's a really good sign that they're not feeling comfortable in that situation. But you might also see it with standing in the sense of the scissor stance. So the scissor stance can be the legs wrapped around each other, but it can also just be the ankles that are wrapped up. So either of those can be a really good sign. And Joz, thank you. That was a fantastic pickup. If you didn't see the comment in the group, she was on a Zoom call. So prior to the Zoom call, she just had her legs in a normal kind of straddle stance position, but she was sitting. And then once the call started, she knotted her ankles and hid them under the chair. So it's a really great example of somebody's just feeling a little bit different because the situation has changed. So good pickup, Joz. All right, and my final question about all of this from the day 4 training was, how did you find the interview picture this time? I know some of you picked up some of the things on day 3 when I put it out there, but I think that you'll probably be able to pick up even more signals and cues from the training that you've had. And looking at that picture and going, oh, now, well, actually I'm seeing this and this, which I didn't notice last time, or I noticed but I didn't know what the meaning was. So let me know if you came back to that picture and actually felt like you picked up some extra cues. Let me know if you have any questions about any of that. All right. So as I said at the beginning, we've covered so much information in these 5 days, and for those of you who didn't catch at the very beginning, I mentioned that the Facebook group will be open for the next few days, and then it will be archived. So you'll still be able to view the information, but you won't be able to comment and those sort of things because the group will be effectively closed. But we do have the Body Language Analysis Facebook group, which is the ongoing group where there are, I think we're heading towards 4,000 people there now, where we talk about body language. We share little clips and just have a discussion about anything related to body language. So you can come and ask your questions there at any time. We also have the TikTok videos. I'm still doing those just about daily. I usually get 5 or 6 a week, so almost daily videos. And I'm always happy to take requests. So if there's something you've seen that you want an answer to, I'm more than happy to run a video or even answer on Facebook. So yeah, certainly continue to keep learning about all of this side of things. Now, there is so much more information that I can give you. A few times I've started to head off down little tracks and I've had to say, no, look, I'm sorry. I literally, this is a free challenge. We only have 5 days. I can't overwhelm you with all this information. So I have so much more that I'm willing to share with you. And so I have what's called the flap method, and that is in relation to face, legs, arms and posture. Now we've covered legs and arms to some extent. We haven't gone very deep with it in these 5 days. So we still have all of the facial expressions to cover, as well as posture, and just a huge range. Lie detection, like there's a huge range of other topics that we haven't got to in these 5 days. The other thing is that knowing what these signs and signals are is great, like it really does help you. But what do you do with that information? How do you then pivot the conversations or approach people in the appropriate manner based on that information? So if you're picking up lie detection type signals and cues, like you're seeing somebody who's being deceptive, or you've got the red flags that suggest they're being deceptive. What do you do with that information? How do you make yourself feel comfortable that yes, they are being deceptive, or no, it was just a side, a strange movement that they did that made me think, oh, what's going on here? So there's all of these side of things as well. So because of that, and because of the amazing interest that you guys have shown throughout this week, I'm going to be running a course that starts on the 8th of November. So it's just over a week away. Now, it's a beta course. It's the first time that I have run this course. So what it will mean is that you will get your training module, kind of like this one, although much more extensive. You'll get your training module on the Monday, and then on the Friday, I'll be going live, rather than just doing a normal pre-recorded video. I'll be going live to allow you to ask the questions that you have and to make sure that what I'm teaching you matches with what it is that you're actually wanting to learn. So yeah, you can actually be involved in the creation of this course to make sure that it meets your needs specifically. Okay, so usually the course will be sold at $997 when it's live and working and operating fully. Because it's in beta, I'm only offering it for $597, and there are payment plans available. Now, the exciting news is that because you guys were in this challenge, I'm offering a fast action bonus where for the next 48 hours only, you'll be able to get the course for $497. So that's a course that's normally valued at $997, you'll be able to get for $497. Not only that, you'll have the extra bonuses of being able to talk to me live as you progress through the course. So the benefits to you for having done this challenge are just incredible, but also the transformation that you'll be able to see in being able to take these skills and then actually apply them to changing the way you interact with others. It's just incredible. So the course is called Read What They Say, and it's about decoding the hidden messages in your colleagues, friends, and family. So this course is literally live just this morning. I've hit the button. I've got the URL, the website, put into the description of this live, but I'll also add it to the comments, so you can jump in there, have a bit of a read. It's got a bit more information about the subjects that we'll be covering and what the expectations are and those sort of things. But yeah, so jump in and have a look at that. It's a bit exciting. I love having a new course. Okay. Oh, and the other thing is the course, you can only buy it for the next 7 days. So this time next week, I'll be closing the enrollments down and starting the actual course itself, ready to get going on the Monday. So don't hang about. If you do it in the next 48 hours, you get the super cheap fast action bonus. But otherwise, if you aren't able to get you aren't able to do the purchase in the next 2 days, then make sure you do it in the next 7 days. I'll send out some emails so you've got the links and you've actually got the details of the pricing and things. All right, so wow, what a week. I am so thankful to all of you who have come along, and I really hope that you have gained some benefits from being involved in this challenge. I've really enjoyed teaching it. It's been great fun interacting with you. And yeah, keep an eye out, jump into the Facebook group, follow me on TikTok, and I'll see you around. Thanks, guys.